Remain high in Minneapolis as federal agents clashed with protesters once again last night. This all comes in the wake of a second shooting in the city by federal immigration officers following a deadly shooting of Renee Good by an ICE agent last week.
In response, President Trump is threatening to invoke the centuries-old Insurrection Act, which would allow the deployment of U.S. troops to Minnesota. For a look at the impact here in our area, Lionel Donovan joins us outside ICE headquarters. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Wisdom and Simone. Well, we've seen widespread condemnation of ICE's activities across the country. Here in the DMV, there have been protests and rallies going on daily in the wake of the events that you mentioned earlier, Simone. And now lawmakers in the DMV are trying to change how the federal agency operates in the region. In Maryland, the focus is on trying to change the way ICE shows up in communities. More than a dozen lawmakers have sponsored a bill that prohibits all law enforcement in the state from wearing face coverings like masks and gaiters. Meanwhile, Virginia Congressman James Walkinshaw is one of more than 24 members of Congress traveling to Minnesota today to push back on the Trump administration and ICE activity in that state. Walkinshaw says he wants to hear directly from those impacted by the increased ICE presence in Minneapolis. As President Donald Trump considers invoking the Insurrection Act to send troops into Minnesota to shut down protests, Walkinshaw says this is just part of a larger pattern of behavior that began in 2016.
Both of President Trump's terms, he's been itching to invoke the Insurrection Act. He wanted to do it in the District of Columbia during his first term, and he was talked out of it by the Secretary of Defense. Putting U.S. troops, active duty troops, in an American city, in our communities, would put them in an impossible, untenable situation and is incredibly dangerous.
It's not appropriate for law enforcement to have their faces covered when they are doing that, because it creates a more significant public safety concern across the board.
And here in D.C., residents are calling for Mayor Muriel Bowser to end the city's cooperation with federal officers and to also be more transparent when it comes to joint policing efforts. And I also want to highlight a poll that was put out by Quinnipiac a few days ago. It shows that more than half of the Americans polled says that ICE's enforcement actions are making cities less safe, and the shooting death of Renee Good was unjustified. Back to you.